Hello, Ben here from Supercoach Insider. Going to give you an update on my round so far. Obviously, when you're in quarantine, these are the things you do. Feeling much better. Thank you for the love and support. Obviously, with the spicy flu, the Rona. Glad we got some content out there this week. Also had some really positive feedback about the advice we gave. So yeah, happy to have you on board. SC Insider 100. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, shout out as well, brought to you by earnu.io. Get on there, get some free bets. Obviously, I had bad luck there again this week. Collingwood absolutely smashed me, and there was definitely a few upsets this week, but happy to see Collingwood lose at any stage. So I'm looking forward to catch up with Chris this week. Basically, I'm going to give you a little update on my team. Why not? Thank you very much for joining in. I'm feeling much better, having a barely twisted palm. Oh, and it's good to feel alive. Alrighty, now, basically, I haven't made my moves yet, so I've got about an hour to do so to make these moves, and I've been kind of tossing up and turning, as you would have known this week, having a look. I end up keeping O'Driscoll, which was really positive news. I was tossing up between O'Driscoll and Brody Rochelle. Now, here's a little bit of an interesting situation this week, ladies and gentlemen. I may have fucked up a little bit. So I kept O'Driscoll, so I'm happy there because he came out and absolutely played wonderful. Hayes. Now, here's the funny thing. I was thinking if I put Cherry or Brody on the bench, Hayes, I figured even if, let's say Cherry got an 80, and worst case scenario, if Hayes plays, then I could put Martin on field, then captain Cripps, so that way I might only lose a handful of points. Didn't happen. I should have actually put Cherry on the pine, but I was like, oh, against Laddams, he'll absolutely kill it. But I was like, oh, but Brody could also kill it playing in the midfield. I just thought GWS's midfield was very strong, so I ended up putting Brody on the bench there because I had a look at the emergencies for St Kilda, and I was like, okay, well, Hawks are playing one ruck, so they're not going to need three rucks. So I was like, okay, I was adamant last night. I was like, right, adamant that they're not going to play Hayes. So I put Brody on there. Brody absolutely went massive. So I was like, well, that kind of throws that whole strategy out of the water because now I need Hayes not to play instead of it being an okay situation where I might only lose a handful of points. I really wanted McRae as captain, and you would have known I had McRae probably VC into a Cripps. But then I was like, I'll go for Neil because Neil has a big ceiling. So if he goes really well, then I can maybe possibly take it. And if he doesn't, I was just going to have the captain on McRae. And that's pretty much what I was big on this week. Except Neil went well enough, which was kind of shit because Chris was talking about as well. Like it's enough to tempt owners. So Neil went 128, which is pretty much about what anyone averaged last year anyway. So half of the games, people will score under, half of them they'll score above. So it's one of those ones where it's over 125. So I was like, look, let's not be silly after last week, or maybe I'll just take those points. And then I was like, worst case scenario, Cripps will probably hopefully bang out a 140 or so if I need it. So it kind of hurts a little bit. If I just left my team as it was, I would have left Brody on the field, left McRae as captain, and didn't touch the teams with 5 minutes to go. I would have been laughing. So now I'm kind of hoping that Hayes is out. Now, here's the funny thing. I checked the VFL teams. They just started 15 minutes ago anyway. Hayes and Burns, I think it is, Byrnes, not playing. So they're probably going to keep one. I'm hoping they're keeping Hayes as a backup in case Marshall goes and gets injured or something like that in the 2 minutes left of the warm-up, which is possible. And I think with Hawthorn playing one tall plus the lot of legs that they have, you're going to need legs to keep up with Hawthorn because they like to play on and take it on, particularly in that back half. So I think it would be silly for them to have the extra tall, but I guess we will wait and see. Now, the issues I have at the moment, if Hayes is sub, I'm probably going to trade him. And it sucks, but as in I've nailed quite a few picks. So I had the Cripps, the Hewitts, I had Bruce, I had Brody, I had Cherry, as far as people getting picked. So I feel like I'm pretty good there. I don't want to get rid of him, so I'm hoping he's not named. So please pray, wish with me. Anyone else that's actually looking to loophole McRae or needs Hayes not to get on, then pray with me. Let me know how you're feeling. Speaking about the round so far, I should probably actually make these trades before I forget. Now, the issue for me was it was Rochelle was the one to make room, more because of cash generation. Now, that his low score, I still think Rochelle can get to about 300, but that low score in his scoring system, his scoring cycle, Martin's a must-have. So out of my team, I don't really have anyone to get rid of. Now, it's like, well, I get rid of early on McDonald, who's doing his job reasonably well. or I can try and bank that cash from Rochelle. Now, it was between him or O'Driscoll, but I was like, well, O'Driscoll's 123k. I considered getting rid of him, but then in my mind, Chris is saying, no, Nod's going to be one of the best money earners. So I kind of hesitated. Then I had a look at teams, and it was like, Nod's actually starting on the ball on the team sheet. And I was like, well, I can't go and get rid of him there. So I was like, right. Plus, the issue was that I was really watching Reeve McGuinness, because I was like, if he does really well, then I was like, well, Bowie would then need to become McGuinness, right? And then that way I could swing Nod into defense. So I was like, well, he didn't do well. So I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to need that cash to possibly upgrade Bowie, which means that it has to be Rochelle. So I kind of got lucky on that one a little bit. So Rochelle is the one that I need to get rid of. Straight up for Martin. We'll wait and see on the whole Hayes thing. Make sure I don't miss out on that as well. And select a forward, please. And let's go with Old Man Martin. Don't know why I say Old Man Martin, but let's go with Nick Martin, and let's go and complete that trade. And now I am loving life. So there we go. Now it's a bit sucky at the moment. I don't really have a loophole. Dixon did really well for me as well, so I'm really happy there. There's a lot of cash generation to be made there. Speaking about the rounds so far, right? So a couple of things I noticed I just want to touch on briefly, just while we have time, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm trying to think who played on the first game there. So the D's game. Now, it was funny. So Bowie was actually in all the right spots, right? Port Adelaide suffocated. They played such a shit brand of footy to try and not have a turnover game for Melbourne, right? So they were kicking it backwards and sideways, which chews up time. Also possessions that go to Port's defence instead of it actually going forward. And then when they did go long, they actually bombed it long anyway to May and Lever, who absolutely racked up. So if that ball hits the ground, Bowie was actually pushing back into defence. Not only that, Port was so adamant to try and lock that game down that they pretty much just flooded towards the middle of the field anyway. And Bowie keeps on running, trying to get the inside kick on the 45, but it just didn't happen. And then it was also about 6 times like he got burnt by teammates because the pressure was up. One of them, I think someone snapped it over their shoulder. Like, they burnt him twice. Kicked it down the full twice instead of giving that handball receive at the back of a contest. So I still think Bowie's role is very, very good. He just didn't have a good game, or the game wasn't suited to that rebounding defender. So it's not an essential one. If you need points on field, it's not essential. But the issue is he has to go for me, because now his break even is going to be higher. He's already made me like 114,000, so I kind of need to get off and fix, and get off and take that money grab and try and get a premium quicker. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's one of those ones where he might actually go backwards, but I still think he's a good player. I still think his role's really good. It was just one of those games, which happens to rebounding defenders, that it just kind of sucked. Whitfield as well yesterday had, he basically hyperextended his knee in this tackle. Apparently he's got a sore knee, sore ankle. See how he pulls up over 48 hours. Typical GWS, typical Whitfield. A little bit of a pain in my ass, but he still got away with like a 92. And the issue I have is that there's so many defenders that are good at the moment, right? And there's a lot that are underperforming, right? But he's at a point where, and he has the first buy, so there's a lot going against him, and it's really starting to shit me, where I might actually just have to jump off. And the reason I might make some of these decisions is, again, because I actually started with a lot of the players that everyone's been trading to. So either I kind of hold steady and use those extra trades that I didn't have to make to get these players that seem to be a must-have, and then try and really come home strong or be aggressive with my upgrades. Or I can then go, okay, well, if everyone's already used more trades, then maybe I can fix something and go about it that way. So Chris started off horribly, loved a long ball down the line, so he came really good. Frustrating as hell. I don't know. It's one of those up and downs. It's kind of like Rory Laird was a few years ago. It's like goes well, goes bad, goes well, goes bad. Like, it's just absolute nightmare. So McRae, happy that he bounced back. Horn Francis, I thought was really good inside the contest. Was on 98, I think, and then scaled back to an 88 and then went to a 93 overall. Don't know how that works, especially seeing that, and this is how freakish it is. So Dacos killed it, right? Horn Francis, both of these boys had opportunities. Horn Francis nearly tried to win the game for North, 50 metres out, around his body. Someone's coming at him, and he hits it around his body, 50 metres, and it just falls short, gets touched on the line. Ridiculous. And Dacos as well pinged one from like 50 metres out, and again, just fell short. In a few years' time, these boys are going to be nailing these hard shots from 50 metres out or more. It's just ridiculous. Horn Francis reminded me a little bit about Dangerfield, about that one, taking it on, running around the corner, and then across his body, 50 metres. Absolute freak. So these two boys are so good. Can't speak highly enough. And Noble as well spoke about Horn Francis and how he's good on the inside and also trying to get on the outside. So I don't know if he'll get forward status though, because the last 2 games he's played a lot more CBAs and a lot more midfield. Berry, thank you for those that held. Berry absolutely killed it. Again, he makes so many bad decisions. I don't know if it's he's fit enough, but missing all that time of football, he just seems to get panicked and just dump kicks it. And it's stupid because he loses points for ineffective kicks more times than I care to admit. But I think the Lions will have a little bit of a softer run coming up. And he's someone that if he pulls it together for a full game, he was on like 60 at halftime again as well. And he's done that 2 out of the 3 rounds, or 2 out of the 4 rounds, should I say. Or 3 out of the 4 rounds, like he started off very good at halftime and then kind of, fallen away. So he's someone I'm definitely looking at holding and just, points on field. I'd rather him over one of these other guys most of the time. Grundy back to real well. Gorn, if you have Gorn, awesome. The rucks are starting to come together. They're starting to get their bodies moving, which is what we spoke about. Gorn's obviously not even going to really drop much in price because of his really big score. So kudos to you if you kept Gorn or you kept Grundy. Because I think if I had both, I would have held strong. Bruce is a tempting factor. I might get suspended. I think it might even be a 1-weeker, careless high. They'll probably try and argue that it was low because Mundy took the free kick, didn't go off the field, didn't get any medical attention, and basically it was just a bit of a whack. The opposition will probably then say, like, no, it was high, intentional. It's like, well, he's behind me, so how's that intentional? I'm just a big, tall fella, and I thought I was just putting a bit of elbow to kind of get him off me. I think it's easy to kind of put careless onto that. Probably gets a week, and I doubt they'll challenge it because, let's face it, he's already been suspended once, so it's not going to look good. Jury doesn't like him. So really good there. Butters was frustrating as well. So the frustrating owners, I think 50% owned, so you're not alone. Only until the fourth quarter when it was pretty much gone and Berry did Butters come into that midfield, and he looked good. Apart from that, he kind of butchered it, so don't trade him out just yet because Gray was out, so sore. Finlayson isn't playing very well. Dixon is obviously out for another few weeks, so they kind of don't have the tools, so they're trying to exploit some of their smalls, and he's definitely one of their more dynamic players around that forward line. Didn't do well. But he did go, remember, like a 120, 130 the first couple of weeks, and that scoring potential is there. So just know that with a forward, you might get a little bit of those ips and flows. Speaking of ips and flows, bloody anyone that has Heaney absolutely killed it. Kicked the goal, I think, to get him ahead. Mark inside 50, kicked a goal, and then kicked one to steal it with about 7 seconds remaining. Got scaled up, exceptionally well. I think scores really stopped for about 20 minutes anyway. He looked very good. So that's 3 out of 4 scores now that have gone absolutely huge. I wish I started him now. It's a little bit frustrating. English did well without kind of doing too much. I think he turned it over a little bit more. I'd be keen to hear from Swizz on that one because I watched more Richmond sort of play. Cherry is an interesting one. I wouldn't get off him just yet because he actually went off. He got a big hit to the eye, and it was off for like a whole quarter. So it was like, I don't know if it was stitches or whether it was just, blood rule or whatever, but he was off for like a whole quarter. I was really disappointed because the issue was he went off and Laddams went off because he got like a concussion test. And they had, I don't even know who they had, someone horrible, Sydney rucking. And they did the job, mind you, did the job well and held it down. But Grundy was just toweling up. Literally hit there, hit there. If that was Cherry would have scored so well in that sort of 10, 15-minute period. And all of a sudden, Cherry finally comes on quarter 4. Laddams is back out there. And Goldie's doing so well that I think Goldie got more of a chip out that day because he was on fire. So it's just one of those unfortunate ones there. I still think he probably goes around that 80 sort of mark, but just that low score now makes it a little bit hard. You probably just have to wait for a few more rounds. He'll probably get you, I reckon he'll still get you to a high sort of at 350s maybe, or even higher threes. Just might have to be a little bit more patient now with him. Unless his role changes, then it's literally abort, get off as quick as you can because the role is everything. Brody killed it. He's going to be like 350k, I think, next week, which is just crazy. So if you got on him, awesome work there. Who else? Mead did a few good things without being exceptional. Dunkley English. Aaron Hall shat me. I end up tweeting, so I don't know if you SC Insider 100, look us up on Twitter as well. I had a bit of a rampage because Hall turned it over twice. Now, I understand that if he kicks it to a teammate on the run, it can still be effective because he's put it out into space for the teammate to kind of pick it up on 1 or 2 bounces. But he literally dump kicked it, and it landed between, like 5-10 meters of no one. And that's not an effective kick, right? And then he literally had a free kick against, right, I think it was on quarter time or half time. I think it was on half time. Points didn't even go backwards for. So it was absolutely criminal. So I'm sitting there like rampaging, like champion data, fix your shit. Didn't even get the like -4 points or anything. And then the start of the next quarter, one effective kick and a handball, and he goes up 6 to like 54. But then here's the funny part, because I'm rampaging internally, I'm bored. And then Hall has the best third quarter, absolutely influential, dominates, and then only got like 27 Supercoach points. So it's funny because then I'm like talking to Swizz and Chris. I'm like, oh, is Hall being robbed now because he's dominated and got like no points at all? Yeah, so it's a very interesting one there. But that's pretty much it for my side. Now, what I'm thinking is, here's what I'm thinking. I've got 239,000. I was thinking about going Bowie to, say, a Reef, but obviously that's no longer on the cards. I'm going to see how Cherry goes, see how Whitfield goes if they get up for the game. Bowie has to go out of my side, so it's an easy one, whereas if O'Driscoll goes down, Bowie I think will be about 370,000, which means I think I've got about $600,000 if I went Bowie straight to a premium. The issue is it's very early for a premium. Clayton Oliver is on my watch list because of his low game. I think in a couple of games' time he will be ripe for a high 500 price. Really exceptional there. I'm still looking at Steele and I'm still looking at Gorn, but obviously, with English and Bruce doing the job at the moment, I need to hold off on that and wait for Gorn to kind of drop a little bit to around that 600 would be nice. I just hope he has another couple down games, but Gorn, exceptional. DeConey I thought was good, 62. Got a couple of really key intercept marks. So that'll help with his cash in a little bit. McCann, I think, copped a knock. So he was on, I think it was on about 65. And it was very early on where I was like, oh, I've made a mistake. Bowie's getting less points than McCann this week. Copped a knock, I think, went off and was all cleared to come back on. But by that point, when the game was sort of on the line, Sydney were really pressing. McCann didn't get as much of the ball as he did earlier. And then you had your McInerney and these other guys and Heaney just absolutely take this game and dominate. So I'm kind of impressed the way that Sydney kind of persevered and did that one. The ones I am looking at, we'll touch on this week as well. Luke Parker played horrible, played a lot forward, so I think he'll get forward status. One real big game, two average games, and now a real shit one. So it is concerning, but I am looking at possibly him in the future. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what questions you'd like us to answer this week. And yeah, let me know who's running the Hayes train this afternoon. Fingers crossed. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.